Right.
And so it was at that time when I realized that those three lights that we had seen on the hillside off in the distance, these were the pilots of that craft, and they had been there, and they were watching us and taking care of us. And so and they came and protected us during this event. And that's why I was not scared, because I was in that state, and I had given us over to God to protect us, and so that's why I wasn't scared. And that's when, at that point, is when I realized that truly this is what we're doing, and what Stephen is doing is really, really important and is being watched by the cosmic force, and it's very, very powerful. And so that's my take on this.
Right, and it wasn't just that the ETs were there. Now, that night, I had a very lucid dream where I went out into the astral body state. And I'm sure on the World Puja Network, all of you are familiar with these kinds of experiences where you awaken in the dream and you can travel in your subtle body. And I went to this same spacecraft with these same beings that Trudy had the experience the same night after we got back to safety, and had a very prolonged meeting and discussion with the ETs that were in that area, and it was crystal clear. I mean, this was absolutely no question. It was an awake, lucid experience. And that's why the next day when we found out that area where we had just thought, well, those have to, because it was there for so long, this triangular formation of lights. It looked like the CSETI triangle. If you go to our website, CSETI.org, you'll see the symbol, which is derived from a crop circle that we visualized, and sent to the ETs mentally, that they put into a crop circle field in 1992. If you look at that, it was sort of in that same formation. And the people, when we realized that the area we were looking into was an area that had absolutely no electrification, and these were not lantern-type lights. These were electric-type lights we were seeing there that evening, and the craft was literally there. The other thing that's really amazing about this experience is that it shows the interlay of multiple dimensions at once, where you have the physical human dimension going on. There's the extraterrestrial dimension where they were there protecting us. They were not just watching, they were protecting as well. But they were shifted beyond the speed of light into the near astral, into that dimension of subtle energy. And then on a finer level, there's the celestials and then the angelic realm. And then beyond that, the realm of the avatar, the Godhead. And that all is happening simultaneously when we're doing these meditations and remote viewing and contact experiences out under the stars together. So on the one hand, we're sitting in this dusty, sort of barren site by an old colonial ruin with distant forest fires and smoke and the volcano there smoking, and it's all this going on. There's the ET craft there, that the only evidence of which are these three lights on this hillside or near this hillside. And then on these other dimensions, and you have the ETs that are there, the physical bodies of them, and then beyond, beyond that level of frequency, if you wish to look at it that, then you have this other spiritual state. And that's what, of course, Trudy and I were calling on, is that divine power for protection when all this started happening, because I knew it was a very dangerous situation. And interestingly, in all the times I'd gone down to Mexico, this was the only time that no one got robbed. They didn't take our money. They didn't take our passport. They didn't take any equipment. They didn't take the binoculars, nothing. And I have to say, the state that they went into was as if there had been some spiritual, a blanket of grace or something that was put over all those policemen, where they became these blissful little boys. It was just remarkable. And
really
that's when we realize how protected what we're doing is.
And also, I might add that above the whole scene, there was above us a ceiling of angels that were flying around up there. It was thick. It was a ceiling of angels.
Yes, it was indeed. Right. Yes. So that's the kind of thing that began happening shortly after Trudy got involved, and of course continues to this day. And going forward a few months, I just want to say that the first year that we ever went to Blanca Peak in Colorado was after this event in Mexico, and that would have been in the summer of '97 when we went to Blanca Peak. And we're going to go there this year. Those of you who want to find out about this expedition, we're going to be there in June of this year. And it's in a very remote area of the Colorado Rockies in the San Luis Valley, and which is the sacred valley, as it's called, the mysterious valley. And Blanca Peak is the sacred mountain of the east for the Native American tribes of that area. And the first year we went there, I had remote viewed a contact site up on Blanca Peak. And we went there as a group, and at a certain point went up to this contact site, and the whole area was shimmering with lights. And there were about a dozen extraterrestrial beings that were there, and almost in a holographic, etheric form that I could see. And then there was the spiritual realm, and then there was an avatar being, a sort of a universal Godhead being that was there. And it was this amazingly sacred, beautiful contact experience that's described in this book, Contact, Countdown to Transformation. And the following year, we went back there because I said, this was such an amazing, deep experience, and I'm just giving you some few, quick sort of highlights in the interest of time. But we went back in '98, and of course Trudy was there. And when we went up to the contact site, which was above a parking area on the mountain, and we would walk up in the dark, and with the whole group, the area was just lit with light all around us. And the whole way up, there were these various-sized ET sentries that were on either side of the path as we were going to go up to this point. And we knew that it was going to be an amazingly spiritual and very special gathering of cosmic people up on this mountainside. And Trudy, you may want to share what you experienced as I was there sort of communing with this avatar being and these very senior celestial ET elders. And when I say celestial ETs, I'm talking about the ones that they have physical bodies and spacecraft, but their entire civilization is basically where humanity will be in about 500,000 years, where everyone will be in God consciousness and have the cities and the Vedic powers and the ability to materialize and dematerialize. And every man, woman, and child on earth will be in a state of God consciousness. And that's where we're headed in this whole new era that we're in. But these are civilizations that have been there for millions of years, if you can imagine that. Civilizations that have been in a state where their entire worlds are in a state of, at the level of celestial consciousness, even though they have physical planets and physical spacecraft. And those are the very, very advanced extraterrestrial civilizations that are, I call them the guardians of Earth, the ones who have been around for a very long time, being sure that life continues to evolve on this beautiful planet. And so when we were up there meeting with all these ET elders and celestials, there was a series of experiences that a number of people had. In the previous year, when I had this experience, a lot of people who were behind me, as I approached and went up onto the hillside into this clearing, actually could see through me, and I was wearing a big ski jacket, and I'm 6'4" and weigh 225 pounds, so I'm not a small. It's hard to lose me, anywhere. But I kind of became evanescent and translucent, and people could actually see through me. And what I was experiencing is even though I was staying in that space, my energy was so high that I felt like I was dematerializing and going into another dimension, which is what people actually were seeing. And Trudy, from your perspective, you may want to describe that as well.
Okay, this event was one of the most amazing and profound events that have happened to me personally. And we went, and our group went up the path, as Steve said, and we went into the little contact site in a semicircle. And so we were standing there in the semicircle, and Stephen walks out into the little clearing there, and so I'm watching this. Then suddenly, I am seeing what is really happening there. And what we were in a huge ET craft. And it was enormous. It was like an auditorium.
Yes, it was exactly like an auditorium. Yeah.
And there were seats, thousands. I would say, I don't know, maybe, between 1,000 and 2,000 seats. And the seats were occupied by ambassadors from all over the universe that were here, that had come to this meeting. And so there was this huge gathering there, and then around in a semicircle around the diplomats, there was a vanguard of Native American people, and they were there as an honor guard. And because the valley, San Luis Valley, is blood-free, there's never been a war there. Blood has never been shed.
Right.
And so our purpose is to help bring about universal and world peace. And so they were there as honor guards. And Stephen was going around the edge, and he was talking to different groups of people, of these people. So I'm seeing this, and at the same time I'm seeing the bare ground there of our site, and I saw us standing there. Then suddenly, on top of the auditorium, I see me, and I'm standing there, and I'm about 7 feet behind Stephen, and I'm facing his back. And then in front of him, about 7 feet away, there was this old man. And he was so intelligent and so wise and so spiritual. It was breathtaking. And he was covered in a rich brocade blanket, and it seemed like there was a hood attached somehow. And behind this old man, there was this high arched window. And through the window, I could see blue sky and puffy white clouds. So Stephen and this old wise man were communicating. I could not hear anything, but I was just there. I knew that's what they were doing.
Right.
Then suddenly, from my heart, shot out a tube of golden light. It was pure gold, like liquid, almost like liquid gold. And it was about the width of a quarter and the diameter of a quarter, I would say, because it was a tube of light. And it shot out of me, and it went through Steve, through his heart, and it continued on to this old man, to his heart. And then it came out of the old man's heart back into Steve's and then to my heart. And it just went faster and faster, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until there was nothing but this solid liquid gold light. And the light was